invest in people in the long term, there has to be a mutual understanding.
Hustle hard. Closed mouths don't get fed. Thinking strategically, but acting like a gorilla is the kind of marketing that's small. The planet innovates very little, is highly risk averse, and indicates
If you want to know about me in a short statement, my values are faith, family, leadership, and strength. And so faith, because I believe I was created by God and that I have a purpose here on earth. And family, because I love my family. I think my family would be certainly something I'm willing to die for. I'm willing to die for my faith, my family, my country, and for you, for people that I'm around. So faith, family, leadership. Leadership, because like I said, I believe nothing happens without leadership. And I think good leadership, effective leadership is hard to find these days. I think people are very distracted. So I believe that leadership is going to be a solution to a lot of our problems within society, good, effective leadership. And then the last one, strength. It's not about physical strength. I believe in teaching people about internal strength, perseverance, adaptability, being able to, let's just say, make it through difficult situations. So having that fortitude, if you would, which is courage under fire. So that's who I am. I'm a man of faith. I care about my family. I think leadership is a powerful subject, and I believe in teaching people strength through resilience and fortitude. So that's just a little bit about me. My mission is to inspire and uplift others by using principles of business and entrepreneurship to educate, empower, and create meaningful change in people's lives. My favorite quote, I think it was Belly who gave a quote earlier, but this gentleman, Winston Churchill, says, "Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts." And so I worked at a prison for a long time. I taught prisoners at the Everglades Correctional Institution through Miami-Dade College. These are all people who are part of that have committed terrible crimes, but are being rehabilitated and eventually will be back in society. All of them, every single one of them is going to get out of prison and is going to go back into society. And there's something called recidivism. Recidivism is the propensity of the people that are incarcerated to leave prison and to come back into prison. So does anybody know what that percentage tends to be generalized? So if I'm a prisoner, I go back out into society. What are the chances that I commit another crime and end up back in prison? The number tends to be just general recidivism. I'm sure it changes by age and there's demographic variables, I'm sure, but it's about 70 to 80% of the people that are incarcerated get out of prison and come back into prison. So some of the variables that contribute to them not coming back to prison are education, and a supportive family, like some sort of support group outside of prison, and getting a job. Like having a supportive, let's just say, what do we call these things? Halfway houses, like a group of people who are also trying to integrate into society, like not going to the same playmates and playgrounds that you did before and going to a new place with positive influences. That's one factor. Second factor is getting a job. That's really important so you can sustain yourself economically. And then the third factor is educational attainment. And it's just such a powerful one. When I teach business, there are factors of production. Like what are factors of production? Well, it's land, it's capital, it's labor, it's entrepreneurship, and it's knowledge. And there's a guy, I believe it's Peter Drucker, who said knowledge is the most powerful factor of production. And it's the most important one because with knowledge, entrepreneurs can utilize land and labor and what was the other one? Land, labor, and capital. And they can combine them to create amazing things. How would they be able to use land, labor, and capital without knowledge? Well, they're not going to know. If you gave a person without knowledge, without even curiosity, and just sort of maybe didn't know what the heck is going on, if you gave them $1 million, you gave them 20 acres of land, and you gave them 300 workers, they might lose it all in a matter of 3-4 years. But if you give that same person the compelling nature of entrepreneurship and you give this person knowledge, they can do incredible things. So I believe this, obviously. So going into prison, my goal was to decrease the recidivism. So it turns out that once they get an associate's degree, it goes from about 80% down to 50%. So that's just 2 years of collegiate education and you reduce it incredibly, which means protecting society in a lot of ways from crime. And then if you get a bachelor's degree, which was the program that I was teaching in prison, that it goes from 50% down to like 20%. So anyways, this was my goal. And as I was walking out of this prison every day, or every time I taught at least 2 or 3 times a week, they would line up in their lines. They'd get called into their lines and they'd have to get counted. And then I would say, bye, I'm leaving. They'd say, bye, professor. And I get to walk out essentially back home with my family, and they go back to their prison cells essentially. So it was like a difficult, always a transformational, but it was a transformative process. And so I get to walk out, and it's crazy. And on the wall is this quote by Winston Churchill. So I'll read it in its entirety now. It says, "Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts." And I cannot express just how important it is to understand that every single one of you is going to attain a level of success. Some of you have already attained serious levels of success. You have a family, you got a job, you got a car, you're about to get your bachelor's degree. Congratulations. Once you attain that success, what happens? you're about to graduate from college. Congratulations. Long time, been waiting to get a bachelor's degree. You're going to do it. And the day that you get a bachelor's degree, it's at the highest of highs. And the very next day, realizing that, okay, like, what now? You know, maybe for some of you who didn't have a job, maybe I go get a job. When you get a job, you're really kind of starting off at the bottom again, you know, maybe at the middle if you get a good job. But the reality is you have to start building yourself up again. So again, it's just interesting that success is not final. And then, of course, a lot of us, including myself, and certainly in leadership positions, have failed many times in my career. But and even after failing, I just, you know, I was in a sense not mature enough to realize, like, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore. I don't think this is for me. I just want to go home and watch Netflix and pull up on my sofa and watch Severance for 2 or 3 days. But that failure does not define me. And understanding that that's not final and failure is not fatal, and continuing to move, the courage to continue, that counts. This is what we're going to do in this class. So let's continue. Through business and through these, I guess, situations leading business, I have learned how to build up a moral foundation. You know, not saying I'm a perfectly moral person by any means, but I have learned that doing the right thing, regardless of what it costs me, is the path forward. This is the only way to do it. And the currency of trust in leadership is one that is undeniably powerful. So that's kind of me. This is who I am. This is what I'm all about. And hopefully you can see that I've had experience failing and succeeding as a leader. And this is why I love this class, because hopefully you can learn from some of the stories that I shared not to do things that I had done, and to see if you could focus on creating a future for yourself and for the people around you that's prosperous and noteworthy. So, all right, inspirational when you reflect on some of these leaders that one might consider to be heroes and think about their lives.